December 26, 1900. The relief ship Hesperus cuts through the jagged swells of the North Atlantic, heading toward the Flannan Isles. They are already days late. The light atop the cliff of Eilean Mòr has been dark since the 15th, leaving a blind spot in one of the most dangerous shipping lanes in the world. As the ship nears the landing platform, Captain James Harvey notices something unsettling. There are no crates ready for pickup. No flag has been raised. And most importantly, none of the three keepers are standing on the pier to greet them. Harvey blows the ship's steam whistle and fires a warning flare into the grey sky. Nothing moves but the seabirds. Joseph Moore, the relief keeper, is rowed ashore alone. He climbs the 160 steep stone steps to the station, feeling a sense of dread that he would later describe as heavy as lead. He finds the main door closed. He enters the kitchen. On the table sits a meal of salted mutton and potatoes, untouched. A chair lies overturned on its side. The clock on the wall has ticked its last second and stopped. 3 men have vanished into thin air from a locked island fortress. Welcome back to the entry log. 3 missing men, an untouched tower, and a timeline that doesn't add up. It's time to look at the anomalies. To understand the anomaly, you have to understand the men. Thomas Marshall, James Ducat, and Donald MacArthur. These weren't nervous recruits, they were the elite. Hardened by decades of salt and isolation, they were trained to operate with the precision of a Swiss watch. The lighthouse itself was a marvel of Victorian engineering. A tactical bunker made of solid stone, perched 150 feet above the sea. It was designed to be a closed system. It had its own food stores, its own fuel, and a rotation of duty that ensured at least one man was always awake. For all 3 to be absent at once was not just a breach of protocol, it was a physical impossibility. When Moore searched the living quarters, he found the beds made and the lamps cleaned. The sentinels had finished their morning chores. The machinery was in perfect working order. There was no sign of a struggle, no blood, no footprints leading to the edge, just silence. This is where the official record begins to fracture. Moore discovered the station's logbook on the desk. The entries for the final days are unlike anything ever recorded by professional keepers. On December 12th, Thomas Marshall wrote about a storm, the likes of which he had never seen. He claimed the winds were so fierce that James Ducat, a man known for his stoic bravery, was very quiet, and the third man, MacArthur, a veteran brawler, was crying. On December 13th, the log states they were all praying for the storm to end. But here is the anomaly that the Northern Lighthouse Board couldn't explain. According to the weather logs from the Isle of Lewis, only 20 miles away, there was no storm. On December 12th, 13th and 14th, the weather was reported as clear and settled. Ships passing the Flannans during that window reported calm seas. The storm the men were terrified of officially did not exist. Was it a localized atmospheric event, or were the men experiencing a collective psychological breach? Then we look at the equipment. In the hallway, Moore found a single set of oilskins, the heavy waterproof gear essential for surviving the Atlantic spray. Lighthouse protocol is strict. You never go out on the galleries during high winds without gear. Marshall and Ducat's coats were gone, but MacArthur's remained on its peg. This suggests a tactical panic. Imagine Marshall and Duckett head out to secure a crane or a supply box. Something happens. Something so sudden and so horrific that MacArthur, the man left inside, bolts from the kitchen, knocks over his chair and runs out into the freezing rain in his shirt sleeves to help his comrades. But if they were swept away by a rogue wave, as the official report suggests, we are left with the locked room paradox. The main door to the lighthouse wasn't hanging open. It was closed and bolted. If the last man ran out in a panic, who locked the door behind him? But the mystery deepens when we look at the West Landing, the platform where supplies are brought up. Investigators found massive damage here, but it didn't look like typical storm wear. Iron railings were bent out of shape, and a supply box 110 feet above sea level had been ripped from its concrete moorings. The official report used this as the smoking gun for a rogue wave. However, forensic experts have pointed out a massive flaw in that data. To bend iron at that height, a wave would have to be unprecedented in human history. And yet, the grass on top of the cliff, just feet away, was completely undisturbed. If a wall of water had hit the island with enough force to twist metal, the entire ecosystem should have been scrubbed clean. Instead, we have surgical destruction. The railings were destroyed, but the island's turf was untouched. It's as if the force was targeted, not chaotic. We also have to look at the psychological profile of the man who supposedly cracked. Donald MacArthur was a veteran of the Victorian era, a man who had survived brawls and brutal sea voyages. The idea of him crying in a stone tower because of a storm is entirely out of character. This leads many researchers to a darker conclusion. The men weren't afraid of the weather. They were reacting to something they were seeing through the windows. In a tactical environment, fear usually stems from a threat you can't fight back against. If the sentinels were praying, it wasn't because the wind was blowing. It was because something was attempting to enter the only safe place they had left. The last entry in the logbook, dated December 15th, simply reads, "Storm ended. Sea calm. God is over all." The light was seen active on the 15th by a passing ship, but by the 16th it was dark. In those 24 hours, the sentinels were deleted. No bodies were ever recovered. No debris ever washed ashore. The official record calls it a tragic accident. But at the entry log, we look at the data. We see a localized storm, a locked fortress, and a man who ran into the night without his coat. Whatever happened on Eilean Mòr, it wasn't an accident. It was a total system override. The light is still there, but the mystery of the 1900 breach remains unread. If you want to dive deeper into cases like this, subscribe to the channel. Catch you in the next one.